So it started in May of 21 when the Z06 was launched, and I thought, well, why don't I go in and put a deposit of $1,000 on a 2025 or 26, whatever it may be, ZR1. And so I signed a contract and was very excited that we were able to put on there that it would be a factory order and it would be at MSRP written on the document. However, my recent visit there revealed that they are no longer willing to honor MSRP. So apparently a contract is no longer a contract.
It's already happening, guys. It is literally already happening. The C8 Corvette ZR1 isn't even out yet, and already dealerships are starting to mark these things up. Today's going to be an interesting one, guys. We have a subscriber of mine who has been told, who has signed paperwork, who has literally never even had a mention of this thing coming in at a different price until that teaser just released the other day, showing that the car was going to have a 2.3 second 0 to 60 time and 150 mile an hour quarter mile time. After that, he reached back out to the dealership only to find out that they are not going to honor their MSRP agreement. Welcome back to the channel, guys. If this is your first time here, my name is Justin. This is the channel where you can come for Corvette news, Corvette rumors, Corvette maintenance tips, everything and anything Corvette. So we're going to be talking a lot today about, you guessed it, the Corvette. We're going to bring him on in a second. I'm going to give him a phone call, let him tell his story. His name is Joe. He's a subscriber of mine. Him and I recently connected and started talking a lot, and one of the first things we got to talking about was, of course, the ZR1, and he was telling me about how his local dealership had signed him up for the first allocation at MSRP. He had it all in written documentation, so he was convinced he was going to get this car at MSRP. Of course, greed takes over, and the dealership decides that's $100,000 over. If this story sounds familiar to you guys, I understand why, because it is. It comes down to the same exact thing that happened with the C8 Z06, the same exact thing that happened with the C8 Stingray, and to some degree, the same thing that kind of happened a little bit with the E-Ray. It wasn't quite as much of a markup on the E-Ray as it was the Z06 and the Stingray, but the ZR1 is likely to be something very special, therefore the dealerships are going to be charging over MSRP. We knew this was going to be the case. This isn't anything new necessarily, but it's disgusting. And if you guys remember, this same thing happened to me. With my C8 Z06, I was going to be forced to pay $50,000 over at one point as well. So what I'm trying to do here is document a lot of these situations because I'm tired of seeing this happen. The C8 Corvette, the Corvette in general, deserves to be something that everybody can get. If you can afford this car at MSRP, you should be able to get it at MSRP. It's unfortunate and honestly downright disgusting that the dealers do this. So what I want to try to do here, guys, and I'm only one person, but I want to be able to do this for all of you. If you want to get a ZR1 or a Z06 or anything like that, and you have signed paperwork stating that this car should be at MSRP and then the dealer tries to screw you over at the last second, send me an email. Send me the details. And we're going to talk about it on the channel here because I know a lot of you guys out there don't necessarily have a voice, and sometimes it takes having a YouTube channel or some sort of public voice to get these kind of things done. That's what I want to do for you. That's what I'm hoping to do for Joe today. So let's get Joe on the phone and talk about his situation.
Hello?
Hey Joe, this is Justin.
Hey Justin, how are you?
I'm good. Hey, I got the viewers here out from YouTube on with us. They're interested in hearing your story about the ZR1. So tell us a little bit about, number one, what car you have now and how the whole ZR1 thing came to be.
Sure. So currently I'm driving a 2023 Corvette Z51. It's my fourth Corvette. I've actually bought two previous Corvettes from Schumacher Chevrolet in Little Falls, New Jersey. Over the years, 25 years, we've bought probably 6 vehicles from them in total. So when the Z06 was launched, as many of you might recall, in around May of 21st, and launched, I mean, the first time dealers were actually taking orders. Everybody was rushing in New Jersey to Sioka, which I believe was still Quebec back then, the largest dealer of Corvettes in the country, as most know. And by the time I was able to even pick up the phone that day, as I recall, at about 12:15, it went live at 12. They were claiming they already had over 3,000 orders. And so quickly I realized I'd be waiting about 4 years for a Z06. So I thought, well, we know there's going to be a ZR1, so why don't I get ahead of the game and see if my dealership, Schumacher in Little Falls, will allow me to sign an agreement, put down $1,000 on my GM card, and go ahead and commit to a ZR1 when they are available. And that's exactly what I did. So the sales rep there is somebody that I've dealt with for 25 years. He's an awesome person. And he was able to get management to sign off on that deal. I have the long yellow slip of paper that we all sort of get in triplicate. We get the one copy, they keep the others. And what's really important, Justin, is it literally has all the details on it in terms of it being a factory order, it being a Corvette ZR1, and it being, most importantly, sold at car to be sold at MSRP. It shows my $1,000 deposit, and that's sort of the background to the impetus to want to buy a ZR1 even back in 2021.
Perfect. So I'm going to, of course, guys, put all this stuff up on the screen because Joe did give me documentation of all this. This is not just hearsay stuff. This is not just one guy's word versus the dealership. He literally has this stuff in writing. Now, what's interesting about this is, like I said, Joe and I have become friends over the last month and a half, and we've been talking a lot about this. And the very first thing we discussed on the phone was the fact that he has this ZR1 allocation. Now, we already know how dealers are with this stuff. Sometimes it takes a little bit of a nudge to get them to do the right thing. And I'm hoping this video is it. Because, as you heard from Joe, this is Schumacher Chevrolet in Little Falls, which means that's the dealership that's doing this. Now, I want to preface something before I start showing all this stuff on the screen about Joe's salesman. His name is TJ, and I want to make this very, very, very apparent here. TJ is not the guy to blame here. TJ has done everything he could to make sure that Joe is happy and to make sure that this deal stayed MSRP. All of the information we're about to show you is going to validate Joe's claims about the ZR1 and about how it should be MSRP, but he's getting, of course, the typical dealership workover. They're telling Joe it's going to be at least $100,000 over. So, Joe, if you have any more information about that, we'd love to hear that as well.
Yeah, so, as you can see in the documentation, I would check in with TJ roughly every 6 months since 2021 and ask questions like, I'm still first in the file, number one in the file. And, those were always positive responses. And then probably about a month or two ago, when I would ask that question, it started to seem to falter a bit. No specifics. So I started to get a sense that maybe there was going to be, some sort of moving of that file from the number one spot in 2021 to somewhere else. So I actually went down to the dealership yesterday, Friday, and I met with their general manager, and he sat down with me, and we had a very candid conversation, no heated yelling, but he made it abundantly clear and used these exact words that if he were to sell me that car at sticker price, I would literally be stealing the car from them. And I said, excuse me? And he said, yeah. He goes, we have somebody who is going to pay $150,000 over sticker. And I said to him, well, that's great, but what does it have to do with being first in the file?
Right.
And he repeated, you'd be stealing the car. And I basically said to him, it's MSRP. You know and I know that GM frowns upon dealers who are marking up cars. And while they can't stop it 100% because you all are independent contractors, not part of the GM corporation, what you're doing is not what they want to do.
Yep. And guys, me and Joe have talked a lot about this in the background. The biggest thing that's happening here, outside of the fact that obviously Joe's getting screwed out of the car at MSRP, is what the dealerships are doing to the brand. I mean, it's literally irreparable damage to the Corvette community by doing this, because what they're doing is forcing a lot of people to, instead of looking at Corvettes, go and look at something else. And those are potential lifetime Corvette owners that are now being forced to go look at a different car. And I've seen it personally. I have seen personally, subscribers go to Porsche, Ferrari, and Lamborghini instead of waiting for specifically the C8 Z06. Whenever that car was super hard to get, a lot of people were fed up with waiting and paying $100,000, $200,000 over MSRP. The same thing is happening here with the ZR1, and odds are good it's going to be at an even larger scale. You heard it there from Joe. The number's already at 150. That number's going to quickly escalate. I bet you we're seeing these cars sold for $200,000-$300,000 over in the very beginning, especially until a bunch of these things start hitting the road, if that ever even happens. With the way that the constraints are on carbon fiber and the fact that that ZR1's going to have a lot of carbon fiber, odds are very good this car is going to be a very slow ramp up. And that means these stupid over MSRP charges are going to be all over the place. And it hurts the Corvette community. I am here to do my best to help you guys get the car if you can afford it at MSRP, which, let's be honest, that's still quite a stretch for most people, myself included. If you can afford this thing, why can't you get it at MSRP? Joe, as we said earlier, TJ is not the guy to blame here. He has been in your corner the entire time. The general manager you talked to, do you feel comfortable naming him?
The gentleman's name was Mark Rodriguez, and he was represented as the general manager.
Okay. So Mark Rodriguez is part of the issue here. He's not the complete issue, of course, because he's only a cog in the machine, we'll say. So basically, the ownership there, the leadership, that's where the issue's at. Now, if you guys remember on the channel, I had a similar issue to this not too long ago, and because of my voice on YouTube, I was able to get the over MSRP charge removed. I want the same thing for you guys. I want the same thing for Joe. It doesn't really matter what car you're going after, whether it's a Z06, E-Ray, Stingray, ZR1, incoming Grand Sport, the incoming Zora. It doesn't matter. If any one of those cars you're on a list for and you have documentation saying you're going to be at MSRP and then all of a sudden you're not, I want to hear from you. Like we said a couple times, this is Schumacher Chevrolet in Little Falls, New Jersey.
Since the early 1920s, as a matter of fact, and never sold a car ever above MSRP until the C8.
It's always the same story. Tell us about your visit there after you found all this out, what you told the people there that are very familiar with your face because of how often you're there.
Yeah, so at the end, TJ, who again is, a champ and not at fault in any way, shape, or form, said to me, Joe, man, I can't believe that we've been dealing with each other for 25 years. You spent well over $250,000 with us, and I guess I'm not going to see you again. And I said, oh, that is absolutely the case. You will never see me at a Schumacher dealership again. They've made it very clear the type of operation they've now chosen to run since the C8 came out, which is unfortunate. And I went on to tell the gentleman that, thank God for places like Sioka, Griswell, and a handful of other who do not sell any C8 and have not sold any C8 new over MSRP. And he basically said to me, I know about Sioka, but I think you're wrong on the others. To which I said, well, you obviously haven't done your research because I've purchased cars from them.
Right.
So it's a shame. It's really a shame, like you said, Justin, but this is the world that they're choosing to be in. And one last thing I'll just add is the irony of the story is when he was told me that I would be stealing the car, I said to him, okay, let me ask you this question. If I place my order and I wait for 3 months or longer for this car to come in, and the financial crisis of '08 hits, and that car, before I even drive it off the lot, is now down 15,000 because of the financial issues we're having in our country, are you going to protect me? Are you going to guarantee when I drive off that the price I paid you is guaranteed? And he said, of course not.
Of course, yeah.
Said, well, it's funny how on the one end,
right,
I'm robbing from you, but on the other end, I take all the risk of a 3 to 4 or 5 month order.
It's a real shame because honestly, before the C8, I used to view dealerships slightly differently than I do now. And that was, I really used to see dealerships what looked like go out of their way to put you into a car like a Corvette. And by going out of their way, what I mean is they would discount the car. They would talk to you about the car. They would make the time to discuss these things with you. Now it's like the C8 Corvette, they're treating it like a unicorn that's untouchable, and unless you have big dollars, you're not going to play in this game. And again, this is going to ruin the Corvette community if it continues this way. We need to stop this right now. One other thing, Joe, and then I'm going to let you go. I know you are a part of a pretty large Corvette club in New Jersey. Tell me the name of that and tell me how many members there are.
Natural Glass Corvette Association, over 400 members. And as I told the gentleman yesterday when I met with them, I said, I've made it known since 2021 that I've got, a deposit on the ZR1. And people were like, the ZR1? Like the Z06 was just launched. And I said, well, I like to be one up. Yep. And so now I'm going to have to share this story with all 400 people. And I told the gentleman that. And he literally said to me, we don't want that to happen. We don't want to lose customers. And I said to him, well, then what's the irony of this story? You're telling me I'm robbing the car. You're trying to raise the price to me with a deposit. And then you're basically saying that's not the type of reputation we want to have. I said,
then don't do it.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
And then he said to me, then laughingly, you'll love this one, Justin. He said to me, it almost sounds like you're threatening me.
Oh my God.
And I said to him, threatening you? I said, how about I'm being transparent?
Right.
And I'm also holding up a yellow sheet of paper. Can you read that for me? Can you read that aloud for me? I said, if you had no desire to sell this car at MSRP, your management that signed this bottom line, it was not TJ, your management signed this. You should have never taken my deposit in 2021.
Yep.
And 3 years later, you've decided to play the game and then accuse me of threatening you when in fact I'm just going to be disclosing for other people exactly what happened here. And I call that facts.
Yep. And that's exactly what we're trying to do here with this video. Now, the really interesting part here, guys, is the fact that Joe did put down $1,000. Joe, I want to thank you for coming on. Real quick, though, Natural Glass, is that the same? That is the same Corvette club that Peter Carey's in, right?
That's correct. He was one of the co-founders of it, as a matter of fact.
That's right.
Great human being.
So, big shout out to Peter Carey. Hopefully, if you're watching, Peter, you stayed this long. But anyway, guys, we're going to say bye to Joe. We're going to wrap this video up. Thank you again, Joe. Hopefully, this video will help you. We'll see what happens here soon.
I really appreciate it, Justin.
All right, Joe, I'll see you later.
Okay.
All right, guys, so there you have it. We got Joe off the phone. We got to hear his side of the story. We obviously showed all the documentation on the screen. This is on the up and up. Joe had something signed from the dealership saying this should have been at MSRP and then was later screwed out of it. I mean, there's no easy way to say it. The dealership is screwing him over. Again, Schumacher Chevrolet in Little Falls, New Jersey. I am going to put the link to the website down below. I want to bring this to your attention. That's ultimately what this video is for. The links will be in the description down below to the website where you can see the staff. So these are the people making the decisions on the higher level. Now, obviously, the general manager, Mark Rodriguez, was named here as well. He probably didn't make that decision, but he is part of the decision-making process. Now, make no mistake, the ZR1 is not going to be the last car that does this. The ZR1 is not going to be the final piece of the puzzle where C8s or C9s will finally get back on track and we won't be paying over MSRP anymore. This is now the reality of Corvette ownership. If you want a new Corvette, this is how it's going to be. The Chevrolet dealerships, they've gotten the taste, they want more, and it's always about money with them. At this point, they're trading loyal customers for the highest bidder, and that's what this is coming down to. I don't like it. I know you don't like it. Let's stop it from happening. All of the info will be down below, guys. It's sad, but it's true. Anyway, guys, hopefully you found some information here that you can work with. Hopefully you liked it in some degree. I know it's not really likable information, but it is good to know. Smash the thumbs up button, guys, if you liked the video. Again, send me your information if you're having a similar situation like this. I want to make it so everybody out there can have a voice. Subscribe if you haven't yet, guys. And as always, stay obsessed.